Okay, so this is the HVAC box from a 2023 model year or build year Ineos Grenadier. This particular version is for a right-hand drive diesel powered variant. I believe that some parts of this box are reversed for left-hand drive cars. We'll get to that in a minute. This is basically how it sits in the car. So this is facing the passenger compartment, and it sits upright, as you can see. Obviously, the main things you can see are the heater pipes, which are bent in such a way as that they go round the tunnel that the air is blasted in from the fan. Now the fan I don't have. The fan would be connected to this. It's quite large, comes off and sits underneath the glove box in either left or right hand drive cars. So this would be on the other side for a left hand drive car. And that obviously contains, the blower unit will contain the filter and also the recirculation valve. I assume this obviously doesn't contain those two things. So lighting's not that brilliant, I'm afraid, but all the air which is blown into the HVAC box will be blown over the evaporator. So there's no way of stopping that. Every bit of air will blow through the HVAC evaporator. That's probably just normal, I think, now in all cars, as you want to be able to dehumidify the air, unlike my weird old 1980s BMW, where the HVAC system is two completely different units. But anyway, I'll forget about that. So the air then passes over the evaporator. You can see, you can just about make out the expansion valve, which is just behind here. Now this is completely disconnected, obviously. And you can then see that the air passes over the heater core. And I believe this is the cause of most issues, because it is this valve which controls how much hot water is pumped into the heater core. So basically this pipe here receives coolant via an electric water pump which is in the engine bay. It's forced through, it gets to this valve, and of course if this valve is permanently open, as it is on my car, you only ever get hot. You're never going to get cold. If this valve is permanently closed, obviously you're only going to get cold. And if this actuator goes crazy, then you're going to get whatever. This is a fairly simple actuator, which it doesn't quite fully engage on the shaft for some strange reason. Only about 40% of this shaft actually engages in this actuator. So this is the water actuator. It has four wires. It has a black wire, red wire, and two white wires. I assume that's power, and then some kind of sensing or control. So I'm guessing this valve is either fully open or it's fully closed, and then it just opens and closes depending on how much warmth is needed. So obviously it's going to be a bit slow to react sometimes, because you're going to have quite a large heater core full of hot coolant, which is going to take some time to completely cool off if the valve is shut suddenly and you want cold air. Now this valve is I can't turn it by my fingers. I have to use this little pair of pliers here to either go one way or the other. So it's quite stiff, actually, quite stiff. This just opens and closes about I don't know, a quarter of a turn or something. So open or close. Now I suggest, as I said earlier, that is either open or closed, and it just keeps opening and closing it to maintain the temperature of the air. Now there is a temperature sensor here and another temperature sensor down at the bottom of the unit there. The unit itself is pretty simple. I think there are just 3 or possibly 4 flaps in it, and each flap is controlled by one of these actuator units. So you've got one there, you've got one there, and you've got one down here. So these ducts obviously go to the driver and passenger footwell. This duct here goes to the rear passengers, and then if you look at the top you can see 2 ducts. The closest one here goes to the defrost vents as far as I can work out, and this duct goes to the kind of eyeball face level vents, and you can actually see one of the flaps. So if I just remove this actuator, just slide him off, and you can see how the flap basically just closes, opens to direct the air to the defrost. This is actually called the defrost flap. Bit of a clue there. And that is where the air comes out for the face level vents. Pretty simple. There's only 6. Is that 6? Only 6 wires? No, is that 8? Well, it's not a lot. Yeah, 8. So there's only 8 pins on that connector. The other thing I found interesting was this. This is actually a heater, an electric heater. Now, I had no idea that this existed. I don't know if it's plugged in or how it works, but it's an electric heater and it goes into here. So that's another thing to consider. Have you got an electric heater? It's not on the options list for UK. I guess maybe cold climates is needed for before the engine's warmed up, but that was a surprise. But I mean, that is basically it. But I really do think this is the cause of most of the issues. I suspect definitely the cause of my issue. This is just jammed open, and it is very stiff. I can't turn that by hand. So, but I think you can probably see this just by taking off a few bits of plastic in the interior, and you might be able to actually see if this actuator is turning. But I don't really know how to check the actuators. Maybe someone will know. They've all got different part numbers on, so they're not the same. They're probably a fairly standard part, I would imagine. Who knows? But anyway, that is what this is. If anyone has got any questions, we can sort of go into this in a bit more detail and perhaps do a bit more disassembly. But it really is incredibly simple. It's just that it doesn't work. Anyway, I will leave it at that for now, and we'll see what we can do. We'll work out how the hell this thing doesn't work. Bye for now.